let's focus on the positives because we have got more action. Welcome back, ladies and gents, to the Winter Series 3. We are about to get into the second semifinals. It took no time at all to get through the first, as Vortex was not going to wait around, and now he's sitting in the grand finals waiting for an opponent. For once, MarineLorD will not be first to make it to the grand finals. He will have to go second, which means that Vortex, he's got his study glasses on. He's watching, and he better watch closely, because we're about to get a mirror matchup between TheMista and MarineLorD, and it is already underway on Dry Arabia. And an interesting choice as well. We haven't seen Roos in quite a while. It's hard to tell how much that has been due to banning versus people not favoring it here on such an open map. I could see a lot of people just kind of thinking about always going France and England, and Roos has just fallen to the back of the mind. Obviously, Roos, we know it's a very strong Civ, right? You get into the Horse Archer spam, and you pepper them with arrows. It's ridiculous right now because of the bugs around the attack speed. But, yet we haven't seen it. And I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to rack my brain. I think that France can somewhat punish you. Maybe the gamble of going up against England could be the big risk, right? Because I think England is definitely a good counter to the Roos Castle Age rush, mainly because the maps are so open. You move across and you reach in and you stab at them when they're probably about halfway through building up the Abbey Trinity. And it means that it's almost impossible for the Roos player to reach their critical point to come online. But it might be that the way this opened, apologies I wasn't able to catch the bans as there's no, like, they're not being posted anyway, as far as I can see. I wouldn't be surprised if the bans between these two, considering their preferences, considering what they played on each side, it was probably England and France. I'm going to go with that guesstimation until we get confirmation. But it wouldn't surprise... Oh, wait, no. I think we... Okay, yeah, nice. Someone actually just confirmed it. So the bans were actually Mongolia and Delhi. Interesting that Delhi came out. So that was Mr. banning Delhi. Meanwhile, MarineLorD, he was the one to get rid of the Mongols, which is interesting because I'd say that MarineLorD is easily top 5 Mongol players in the game right now. It's a fairly micro-intensive Civ, and he has proven to be probably the most capable micro in the entire Age of Empires 4 sphere at the moment. So, kind of surprised that he banned that out. I guess he's worried about it being a specialization for Mista, and he's probably feeling like Mista right now, he's going to have less civs he's comfortable in compared to MarineLorD. MarineLorD definitely showing a lot more flex when we've seen him in tournaments, but I think that has to be balanced in terms of the how much credence that shows and holds, because of course MarineLorD has gone a lot deeper in these tournaments, so he's had a lot more games to show off different civs in. So tech up about to be underway for both of them in a sec. Well, the important thing, of course, when you're watching these Roos on Roos engagements is who's getting the better side of the bounty system. The most important detail, by the way, is that you crack the 250 mark so that you can get access to that second tier and get better gathering rates as well as generation on the cabins. And look at this. Actually snatching away. MarineLorD trying to chase down the wolf. I think this is wasted time, though. I'm not sure if you can get it. It's going to be tight. Mr. Oh, I think he's going to get it. Yeah, look at the range right now. Wait, what? Oh my god. Mr. just gave that over. There was no reason to turn around. I think he was worried about Diagro, but if he kept running that back, the wolf comes in range of the TC, and the TC fires enough damage that I think with one shot from your scout, you're able to outdo both of these scouts and beat them to the punchline. But instead, firing that arrow, he gave it over, and MarineLorD will snatch away the wolf, keeping Mr. further away from the second tier unlock on the bounty system. And now, MarineLorD himself close to 300 bounty overall. Now, of course, you're not likely to get the third tier bounty anytime soon. Remember, that's locked behind 500. But this is still a big booster in your early economy, right? It's extra gold. Every piece of gold counts because it does mean that you're going to get up into the castle age a little bit quicker. And at this rate, MarineLorD looking to do exactly that, as they will be locked in on Golden Gate timing similarly. But look at the difference in gold count right now. Wood as well. Mr. is behind in every resource at this point, and that's a little bit worrying. That's getting even more worrying. Are there any wolves left? I do not think so. I'm trying to figure the maths adds up. There's going to be a few sheep, but I think everything else but the pause has been taken. That's frustrating. That means that Mr. has just got a less efficient economy. He's locked right now. He's got up to 225. Has he got enough sheep left? Ooh, he might. Yeah, I think he just about dodged a bullet. It's hard to see with the way they lay it over, but I think he's got at least 5 sheep there. Remember, sheep are worth 5 bounty each, so he will still be able to crack this. He's a very inefficient player to not go for it, though. Just quickly club these down, get the extra gold, and then, of course, get back onto the food, and that'll add up over time. Yes, you have to stop a villager from gathering to do it, but you can just switch them one villager between each of these. And I think that 5% gathering rate definitely pays for itself to sacrifice one villager for, 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds within 5 minutes of doing so. MarineLorD now riding out, trying to snatch deer away, but you can see MarineLorD, he's already prepped in position to do similar. Does have less scouts, mind you. Pro scouts almost complete on both sides. A slight edge will be there for MarineLorD. And keep in mind, because there's more scouts out for Mista, this does mean that he's going to have the net lead, right? Because it's going to be 5 drawn away from Mista's side, but he's going to be bringing in 6. And those 6 are going to come from MLord. So it's a 1-point difference in favor of Mista. But he's going to have to maintain that. And that could also switch up when we talk about the potential for, like, scout rushing underneath the TC to pick up the carcasses. Something we have seen a lot in recent engagements. Return underway. And no real switch up. We have been getting teased that there might be a patch coming soon, and I wouldn't mind seeing it sooner rather than later, just so that maybe we can actually get some tweaks to the horse archers specifically, because I think right now you can see it's just the definitive, the de facto strategy, because although we see some pocket attempts, things such as, on high view going for like hunting cabin spams going to knights, for the most, it's always horse archers and competitive settings. And it is getting a little bit tedious because it means you never get that deviation, right? Think about how many times we watching France on France or England on England. And someone will throw a curve shot out, right? They'll whip out a man-at-arms line out of nowhere. In fact, we saw that just yesterday in England matchup. Someone was spamming heavy longbows. Another person went into man-at-arms heavy. And then that forced a pivot into crossbows, right? And all of a sudden you had this dance back and forth between the two. But even when people see horse archers on one side, they just build horse archers themselves. There's no like argument of, oh, I go spears or, oh, I go archers. Of course, archers were meant to originally be the counter to horse archers due to the fact that they were meant to have a better rate of fire. Just not the case with the way it's worked out. So scouts will continue to just nab everything together. MarineLorD still trailing behind by 1 scout. And he will go across and get the bad news. There's only 1 deer carcass here. Too late to ride out and snatch away from his opponent. So Mista does keep that 1-point lead we talked about. MLord, this will be enough to get him teched up. That's not the worry right now for him. The question is, what does he do immediately after that? And what sort of resources does he have in reserve? You have got berry bushes close by for both sides. The ball points seem fairly even as well. I would maybe give a slight edge to the positioning for Mista. But they're very far out on the sides. So the biggest problem I see here is the likelihood to spot the ball lines via the sacred sites. And I think they're fairly balanced in that regard, but the stealth forest might give a slight edge and make it less likely that Mista would be seen going onto this ball with a pocket economy compared to MarineLorD going on his own, which has a direct line of sight to the sacred site location. Small details like that can come into play later on. I think there's not really going to be engagement on the boards in general, though. I think it's just too far out in this type of game. I expect most likely both of them are going to switch over to farms by like 18 minutes max. I'll ride out the scouts. Mista just waiting in the tree line for him. And this is brave. I don't think you want this fight. We've seen MLord slaughter every opponent so far in these scout and scout engagements, even if he ends up outnumbered. And right now, he's not outnumbered. Right now, he's looking to dive in. Needs to be careful because he will have to run straight through Mista's scout line. And remember, these scouts, although they do a measly 4 damage, they get a bonus 10 up against other scouts. So it's very hard to run through your opponent's line of scouts and not lose half of your own. Mista. As MarineLorD just clusters around together, look how he's just scouting out everything. He's looking for any remnants, any extra wolves, sheep, whatever. And at the same time, he's trying to keep an eyeball out for MarineLorD maybe getting greedy and trying to do those pocket expansions we talked about. Now when he reconvenes, he does have the numbers. He has his front line. He's already producing into the horse archers, but same old on the other side. And now the next detail we're looking towards is Relic Generation. As it stands right now, this generation looks slightly favorable for Mista. We can see that we've got 3 relics up here, another one in the south, and it looks like someone must have already grabbed one. Or am I blind? I do not see the 5th relic. Nice cover. MarineLorD gets out, gets a deep one. Am I imagining things, or are we... No, there it is. Okay, Mr. did return it already. So he was very quick on getting out. I didn't notice where it was. I'm guessing it was fairly close, though. So overall, this generation was pretty generous from Mr. Mr, of course, getting the more defendable bore. Then in terms of the relic locations, definitely being better set up there. I think maybe you could give a slight edge for MarineLorD on the wood lines, but they're fairly comparative. I don't think either one got the better side of it. MLord now has the ability to get 3 of these relics. Moves out for the northern one, already shifting to the south, so he will get the lion's share, and that means he should be able to get tech unlocks quicker than Mr. Remember, he already had that gold lead, right? 245 in the end compared to 320. That's a small difference, but it can matter for being a little bit quicker on a tech up into, say, upgrading the steel arrows or going into extra resistance against missile fire. I would love to see a play into Saints Reach. I think it's very underrated. Not yet, though. I think Saints Reach becomes good when you're around 25 to 30 horse archers, when your cluster is too big to all be buffed by the Warrior Monk alone. And these numbers have me a little bit scared right now. Mr. He's playing fairly split, and it's a long run to try and get back on top of this with his horse archers. Looks like for now, MarineLorD cannot exploit this. Instead, just patrolling around himself. And just trying to force the dance, right? Like, you now have all the relics, or not all the relics, but you have the majority of relics in your banking, right? And now you can just move out, force Sacred Sites, force Mr. to keep responding until you're ready to make a move. The cool thing about doing this, by the way, is it gives you a direct line towards Mr.'s base at this rate, as you already dragged him out of position up here. But it looks like MarineLorD, he's not going to jump the gun, he's not going to be greedy. Instead, he's going to keep doing this dance back and forth on the Sacred Sites. And this would be a good time to send one scout up to decap the Sacred Site. Just draw some attention over there. Speaking of scouts, it's exactly what Mr. tries to do, and he gets punished for it immediately. Nice move by MarineLorD. MarineLorD already shifting his Warrior Monk down to the south as well. So the whole point of this is it's probing, right? You want to keep forcing your opponent to dance the dance back and forth, and every once in a while, you're expecting him to be a little bit out of position. If he ever does step out of position, you snipe whatever unit is there, whether it's a horse archer or a scout. It also means that if you're being the first to move, your opponent's move becomes predictable. He's going to have to react, right? He's going to have to mirror it. And that means that potentially exposes you to a flanking attack where MarineLorD can try to weave in and snipe out your reinforcements. But MarineLorD, a little bit too greedy. Quick response comes out, and that is going to be minus 100 gold and 20 food of MarineLorD's line there as he does lose a monk. Monk count currently sitting at 3 on both sides as we speak, but the fort from Mister's coming out into the north. And his decap shouldn't be successful, so gold trickle is going to be going the way of Mister soon. MarineLorD not happy with that. Trying to force a fight around the stealth forest, but Mister does see everything courtesy of his own scout. So they will back away. Straight over the center as well. And Mister needs to be careful. The scout sees this. You've got a few stragglers here that can be sniped out. These horse archers shouldn't be here. And he will back them out just in time. A little bit of a wonky situation there. Sacred Site in the meantime in the north has never actually been capped. So MarineLorD once again just getting that gold trickle in his favor. If we look at the numbers, we can see it, right? He's doubling up. Part of that obviously being due to the relic, but then the other part to being to the Sacred Sites. And the reason this is an important detail is it means that he's going to be able to afford those tech ups a lot quicker now. We mentioned them before, like it was going to be close, but not too significant of a margin. But now, with such a lead, he can not only consider maybe matching the techs that Mister's getting out of his own blacksmith, he could even look at these unique techs, right? With the Saint's Blessing, with the Blessing Duration. In fact, we already see the Blessing Duration being queued up for Mister. This is a really cool idea. I think that this is just as good as the Saint's Reach. Saint's Reach and the Improved Blessing, of course, are unique to the Abbey of Trinity. All the other techs here are available in a normal monastery. But this one's fantastic. For 75 food and 200 gold, to increase that buff by 10 seconds in a fight, usually we talk about this whole wham bam thank you man value of just getting in, stabbing once, and then Saint's Blessing giving you the edge at the start of a fight. But buffing it by an additional 10 seconds allows you to easily turn the tide on an opponent who doesn't go for it themselves. Because when you talk about this many horse archers, the fight will last that long. But the one condition I have is that usually you go for this first. Saint's Reach is more important. If you don't have Saint's Reach, the whole concept of Blessing Duration lasting longer is such a niche value point because, of course, you have to be close enough to your horse archer line that your Warrior Monk is giving over that buff. And naturally, the AoE on them is quite small. If you have them at range and then you have your Warrior Monk at the melee point with your enemy's line, you maybe buff the first line of horse archers max. The rest don't get juiced. More on the south. And here we go. Look at that. Look at that difference right there. There it is. I thought it would happen as soon as I saw the amount of units that were goldened up. MarineLorD, he goes straight in for both of the unique techs. So not only getting his hands on the Saint's Reach, but now getting the bonus 1 damage from Improved Blessing. This is fantastic. And so well identified. And even with a number advantage in favor of Mista on the Archer count, MarineLorD will fight very efficiently in these engagements. Sacred Sites being capped back and forth. 2 now in favor of Mista. Archery range count must be 1 up further for Mista, right? Yeah, he's up to 5. That was the only reason these made sense to the numbers. And he's already expanding out into the Berrybush lines to the north and south of his base. Similar being done by MarineLorD now going to the southern one. No switch over to farms. Neither of them want to slow down because it would leave you vulnerable to an assault when you wouldn't be able to afford the wood to keep producing these horse archers non-stop. There we go. I believe that's how Russians say we ride. 52 to the 42. MarineLorD, he needs to be careful. He waits too long, he's going to get outnumbered completely at this rate. And this one feeling like it's going to drag out. Even with that lead, Mista doesn't feel confident. He needs more techs. He understands that his opponent has had more gold trickle so far. Tech-wise, Boy's Fortitude is half researched right now. Boy's Fortitude already being taken by MarineLorD, which is why you can afford to engage with less numbers, right? It's the effective HP difference. 85 compared to the 105 health. You take a lot more arrows to fall. And then you have to remember the Saint's Blessing, right? The bigger AoE than your opponent right now, just giving over that armor buff, which is still being ignored by Mista, instead going for the Improved Blessing first. I really don't like this. You've got way too many Horse Archers for your Saint's Blessing to hit, right? The lines are too deep. You're not going to reach without the additional range. The range has to be a priority over the damage here. Now the number's shrinking. And the Scout Army is scaling. MarineLorD, he's reaching Zerg point here. Look how many he has. Only 4 Warrior Monks, but 18 Scouts, and almost the same number of Horse Archers. If he forces a fight here, he'll be ahead of Mista. And it'll just come down to micro. That's the only way Mista will be able to do it. If they just butt heads against each other right now, it's that extra range that's going to make the difference and give MarineLorD the favor. Poke and prod time. Moving in. MLord. Forced to engage. Here come the Scouts. Saint's Blessing going over. Look at the difference. Only half of them have got it. He gets the second half in, and remember, Mista, he went for the extended duration, but the Warriors Monks haven't been dealt with yet. He still has 1 standing, which means MarineLorD continues to get the buff. However, now it's gone. He's lost it, and it's still there for Mista. Mista losing the last of his Warrior Monks now, but the numbers are in his favor, and MarineLorD is quickly falling behind. Needs the micro to even this up, but there's not enough left. MarineLorD is going to be buffered back and away from this. Mista does have the numbers, and MarineLorD just needs to retreat. And that is going to expose his pocket economy here on the borderline and force them to garrison. And there will be a dive. Mista chasing him all the way back to base. Really well played out of Mista. The reason he wins that in the end being the fact that he has so many more Warrior Monks. I think it was about 7 compared to the 3. Also, MarineLorD, notice the misstep there. He has the wrong formation. His Horse Archers are on the front line, and his Scouts are at the back. The Scouts take so long to get in place, they're not actually cannon fodder that are actually blocking any shots. Mista gets maximum value. The Warrior Monks get exposed too quickly, and all of a sudden, MarineLorD can't hold. And MarineLorD once again going in, now with the Saint's Blessing once more. This will allow him to trade reasonably well, but still, once again, it's going to be an army wipe. There's no way he can hold against this number. Down to 8. On the other side, 28. Make that 27 remaining for Mista. And MarineLorD forfeiting more ground. Ground he cannot afford to give over with his base about to be being exposed. Now the Siege Workshop being dropped. So late to do this, though. Meanwhile, a few of his Horse Archers right in. Mista now 5 villages down behind MarineLorD. And MarineLorD, he's going to go into chill mode. He has the Siege Workshop. The paranoia sets in. Mista not able to actually snipe on these economies as they can just garrison in and protect themselves. He'll find 1 or 2 villages being a bit greedy. But with only these Horse Archers here, he cannot do anything about these wooden fortresses. And even hanging around for more than a few seconds seems foolish. Still in the back line, MarineLorD just frustrating the crap out of Mista. Delays him from getting reinforcements on the front. Can find more of his pocket expansions if he keeps going. But in the end, he chooses to engage with the Horse Archers behind him. Now, right out in the center. He doesn't want to lose the Sacred Site, remember. He wants to keep that gold trickle, because right now, that's where Mista's falling behind. Techs are his limitation. Also, now, with this much gold trickle, this is where he naturally is able to afford the siege weapons, something that we can't say the same of for Mista. Mista is just dropping more archery ranges, because when you look at the numbers, there's no way in hell he'd be able to regularly field siege weapons. And he's paranoid that if he does do it, with this control of the sacred sites and the fact he has 3 of the relics, there's always the possibility that MarineLorD quickly counters a Mangonel that comes into play with an easily affordable Springald. And these split raids, really not finding that much value anymore. Too protected. MarineLorD really on point. As soon as he sees them running through and out of the fog, he instantly garrisons every time. And although you're stunning his economy a little bit, there's questions to be asked about how many horse archers you're losing in the process versus how much you're slowing down. And Lord moving across again. Straight in. Only 2 horse archers. Mista is sacrificing a lot of troops unnecessarily here. Trying to get that decap. Tries to bait his opponent in, but not able to do so. Might be able to finally get the decap now that he has 12 horse archers here compared to MarineLorD 7. The Warrior Monks could make a difference, but it's not worth sacrificing them. They're quite pricey at this point. And now the Mangonel shot's coming in. Horse archers trying to dedicate their fire onto it. It takes so long to get through it, though. And these Mangonels are making short work of the Mista's horse archer line. Look how quickly they're dying, actually. So many heavily injured under the Wooden Fortress again, and MarineLorD is going to be able to once again hold, but he will take casualties. Mangonel going to be brought down. And now the pinch, MarineLorD on both sides here. Villagers have been chased down as well, so in a little bit of a pickle there. But now he has the numbers to hold here. With the assistance of the Wooden Fortress, Mista is going to lose his army. And another Mangonel coming out. Mista has problems. He needs his own siege weapons. He can't keep doing this. He's sacrificing any lead he's building because he never has a way of establishing a foothold outside of MarineLorD's base. He's always being buffered back time and time again. And still, no siege workshop. He needs it. He really needs it soon. But right now, all of his wood is going into farmlands. That's the difference maker, right? It's the fact that MarineLorD did go out into that boar in the end, something that Mista didn't do. So he didn't have that extra 2,000 food surplus before he'd have to transition to wood. That's a lot of wiggle room for MarineLorD to utilize. And despite that big fight he lost a few minutes back, it's been the difference maker, the fact that he's been able to afford these Mangonels in a world where Mista can't possibly do it due to the way he's built. Another stalemate sets in. And you start to get the feeling this one could drag out for quite a while yet. Mista consistently maintaining the horse archer count over MarineLorD. But for the first time in a while, MarineLorD now back ahead of his opponent. And yes, it's deceitful in the pop cap. These Mangonels cost 3 pop cap each. But they're worth 3. They're worth more than 3, because if you're going to get in a big cluster fight, 3 Mangonels firing in against this lineup of horse archers will turn them into horse meat. Those wondering about the damage you do, remember it's 36 damage in 3 instances from the Mangonel, and you have 105 health on these. So if you get max splash value, they're all almost dead instantly, even with the Boy's Fortitude in the mix, even with the missile resistance of 1. And I like this move out of Mista. He needs to stop being trapped into this dance back and forth in the center. He needs to strip MarineLorD's economy bare. And he understands that at this point in the game, the woodlines must be wearing thin. And that might offer up an opportunity to snipe in and do maximum damage to MarineLorD's eco. Here he comes. Gonna be seen. MarineLorD needs to be quick to shift away. And there it is. Backs off towards the Wooden Fortress, but he is in. And there's too many villagers here. There's not enough protection. He's gonna try and run some away, but it's horse archers, baby. They chase. They chase easily. And a lot of villagers going to fall here. And now a 11 eco lead for Mista over MarineLorD. MarineLorD needs to punish this. If he doesn't get rid of the army now, he's miles behind Mista. This wraparound. This wraparound is good, but it means the Mangonels are out of position. So he will not be able to min-max his damage. Horse archers engage. Warrior Monks aren't here yet. Nice snipe out. He gets his blessing, and it's not going to be there for Mista. MarineLorD with the buff. He'll have the edge. Mista completely out of range, and I don't think he ever went back for the Saint's Blessing reach. And it means that he's going to lose the trade here. He'll be forced away. Mangonel's almost in position, so he can't hang around too much longer either. In fact, those Mangonels are about to send in a cluster the way of Mista. But splits off, peels it back, and now Mista actually keeping the numbers in his favor. Despite the fact that the Saint's Blessing was there for MarineLorD, despite the fact that the Mangonel should have been forcing him to make suboptimal plays, Mista still staying ahead of MarineLorD on the count. And this is why we don't often see the Mangonels coming out when you're still in the middle of the field, by the way. This is usually the weakness of it. Keep in mind that the problem you have here is, as amazing and powerful as Mangonels would be in a big clumped up horse archer battalion, These horse archers are dynamic. They're very quick to move across and raid on the sides. You're not able to get on top of them unless you pin them in their base. And so far, MarineLorD has been unable to do that. If he ever wants to utilize his siege weapon advantage, he needs to be at his opponent's base. But that comes with its own risks. And the risks, of course, being that if you ever get pushed back, you have a very static siege force that can't easily escape. And now you're going to have an opponent who's building his own siege weapon. Springles have been queued up by MarineLorD. Decap on the northern side. We'll look to cap the southern side, trying to keep that gold trickle more or less even. Income numbers have for a long time been favoring MLord, but now you can see MarineLorD starting to move ahead as he's already switched over the farms, and now MarineLorD has to make that awkward shuffle. It's going to leave him a little bit weak. So far, just being cut out macro. You know, we talk about MarineLorD and his superiority micro-wise, but you got to give credit to TheMista. He's played this perfectly on a bigger scale, right? These raids on the side, he's positioning the stealth for us, always baiting MarineLorD in, and MarineLorD with a few unorthodox and kind of out-of-place mistakes for this lad, costing him some big moments early on and causing that ripple effect that always has him on the back foot now. Mangonel shots, they're good. They're really good, holy crap! MarineLorD, in the blink of an eye, setting up his own meat butchery full of horse meat here. And MarineLorD will strike deep instantly. Look at this, he chases in, he's going to force a re-engagement. MarineLorD can't hang around. MarineLorD, in the blink of an eye, catching MarineLorD out of position and maximizing the punishment that he dishes out. And MarineLorD riding in. Springles sniping each other out. The Mangonel count is the difference, though, and MarineLorD is about to lose his main army. MarineLorD up against the ropes for the last several minutes, always caught dancing back and forth. He understood what he needed. We mentioned that the siege weapons, the moment they can get deep enough, they can end this game. They can force you in an uncomfortable situation, and that's exactly what happens here. MarineLorD, with the mistake, going the wrong way around the tree line, will cost him game one and put MarineLorD one up in this series. It's not going to be a mirror matchup, though. This time around, they have deviated. It's not Russe on Russe comparative. It's going to be England versus France. We are going to one of the longest wars in history, and we need a victor out the other side. And no surprise, it is, of course, going to be MarineLorD on his infamous France. Yes, we do know that he likes to play the Civ, and we talked about how we haven't really been seeing as much of him in this tournament on France outside of Boulder Bay maps, right? It's usually been being safe for that. But with the kind of curveball of going straight into Lipany instead of Boulder Bay, that opens up. MarineLorD sees an opportunity to end the game, and we know he's incredibly comfortable. I'd say he's probably the most lethal player on France right now. I feel like I say this about MarineLorD with a lot of things, but it fits considering that I rate him as the best player in the game right now. But most definitely when he's playing as France, he's incredibly spooky to play against. And Mr. With England, he does have some tempo setting he can try to apply, but he's going to have to be rapido. And I think here on Lipany, this is why he picked it, right? It's comparative to Dry Arabia. It offers the same level of exploitation you're looking for as England. I think actually Lipany is a better map for England than Dry Arabia. Because although there are some natural choke points and high grounds that can be exploited against you and might make it harder for you to early raid and poke and prod around your opponent, the big difference is that you have a nice balance of being able to access their economy and snipe them early with longbows, but then you also have a lot of easily wallable points, right? To block out long-winded cavalry raids from your far flank. And I think we've seen that used before by players already. I believe we saw it just yesterday, in fact, used in one of the series, where a player was able to wall off a lot of the approaches and prevent a mobile civ like the Mongols from punishing them on the flanks. Question is, does MarineLorD want to do the double TC drop? I do like it. It can be quite dangerous against France of all civs. The problem is, like, what is your alternative right now? You could go hard in the spears, but I feel like if you just end up playing longbow spears, we just return to one of the good old ones, right? The old people styles. Back in the old days of 3 months ago when the game first came out. We know the ones I'm talking about, right? The matchup being England-France, and England lost like 80% of the time. Reason being is that England would go into longbows, France would go into knights. England would go into spears, and then France would very comfortably transition into a double or triple archery range and outnumber you. The only difference maker that was ever giving an edge to England players, that 20% of matches they were winning, was good utilization of outposts. And I think that's going to be a critical detail if MarineLorD doesn't try to eco boom up. He's going to have to compete with the quality attack speed. And that means he's going to have to get a villager out early and get those outposts down before he gets blocked out by 1 or 2 knights raiding. And the window is closing already. School of Cavalry half built. Looks like it's going to be Pro Scouts out of MarineLorD. Understandable choice. Remember, you are up against England. England does not engage with Pro Scouts at all. Not one bit. And that is a juicy stack, if I do say so myself. Notice that Mista got the double deer stack on top of each other. The breeding ground, as I like to refer to it. And that's kind of a sad situation if you're Mista, because unless you quickly wall this off, it's going to be taken away from you. This would be immense value to just run over with a small pocket economy, drop a mill, and then just milk this for days. Because remember, there's each 350, there's 14 deer here. That ends up coming out at 4,200 food. 4,200! Being gathered at a superior rate to your sheep, and also your berries, and most definitely still your farms up until, say, halfway through castle and 1 or 2 tech ups with the buffed rate from the mill. That's how good deer are. That's why we're in the middle of a Pro Scouts meta that seems like it has no end in sight. But maybe in the coming months, it will finally be nerfed appropriately. But for the moment, it is just too godly. And there's the racks as well. Yeah, so Mista already preemptively expecting the raids to come in. 1 or 2 knights definitely going to be built. The question is whether MarineLorD doubles down on the knight spam or he just builds a few to balance himself out and then looks to get greedy himself. He hasn't moved from the stone line yet, but this could be because if he intends to, he's going to rush them out and do it because it's at the front of his base. Or he might just ignore going for a secondary TC altogether and focus entirely into just getting the archer knight spam. And he already is. Look at this. The archery range is already down. This is such an early timing, but it's because it's such a predictable opener. Like I said, when you're playing England versus France, what other option do you have here? And even if he starts investing in archers that's not worthwhile, you still have a small raiding force with a way to reach in alongside your knights. But more importantly, like, look how he just drops the archery range but doesn't instantly start investing in archers. He wants to see his opponent do the next step first, right? He's preemptively dropped the archery range to be prepped. But now that he starts to see what's happening on the other side, courtesy of the knight and the scout, with the spears already showing, now he's going to build into the archers. And you don't even need 2 archery ranges, by the way. 2 archery ranges completely decimates England if you can sustain it, right, against them, because you're able to match their longbow count, and then you counter out the spearmen as well. But the whole concept in this construct right now is he just wants to have the same rate as the spearman production. And it's only 1 racks, right? So every 15 seconds on each side, you're going to get the spearman and archer come out. And that means that MarineLorD is going to be better postured because he's going to be countering out the spearman, which will then give access to the knights to dive in to the longbow line. But for the moment, no more knights. MarineLorD, he needs to get the scouts rocking. Pro Scouts is almost complete. He'll start sniping the deers in prep and looking to drag them back to his TC. And no movement out just yet by Mista. I'm not surprised, though. Especially against France, it's very hard to even try to move out to that double deer stack unless you can heavy pressure. He's trying to do that. But this stealth forest, remember the way Lipany works, it's usually kind of centralized and off to the sides. You don't have the same degree of sneak that you would on high view, right? Where you're able to get a lot closer to your opponent's base before they see you coming. In this map, the best you've got is this tiny stealth forest that's still very far out and away from the eco lines of MarineLorD. And still no stone being gathered, so Mista just full intent to try and end this game for better or worse by like 20 minutes. He doesn't want to look for a later timing. And there's that outpost we talked about. Really important detail. I'm glad he done this. So many players fail to do this. They try for an early raid with longbows. They get poked and prodded off, and then they back off. He's got himself a safe fallback point now. Also gives additional value to the scout, to the spears. Means that if they start being attacked by archers, they can garrison inside here, return fire from range, and there's nothing that MarineLorD can do with his own archers against it. Speaking of those archers, they're right now. Same with the knights as well. Knights are getting with the initial charge. Nice stabs in. Spearman move across though. 1 knight taken down. MarineLorD hanging around, needs to back out. But a little bit slow to do so. Scouts are engaging with the other scout and the longbows, and the archer count is more or less even. And the knight will not be quick enough to stop the outpost going down. So now MarineLorD needs to back up. Starting to feel the pressure. Mista. With the longbow count in his favor, he's going to start to trade out with the remaining archers. The scouts being involved was a backfired attempt by MarineLorD. Did not work out. Getting caught out and losing that knight as quickly as he did at the start of the fight really cost him here. And now the crawl continues. Mista getting in position, trying to block out that goal. Starvation will begin to set in for the French. And MarineLorD is going to have to find a way to feed his people. He needs to ramp up the archery range production quick, because right now he's outnumbered. You then have to equate in the attack speed buff that England's going to get off this outpost, being around 14.8 or 15.8% for the Lombos. They don't get the full 25%, for those wondering. They still get a decent amount, though. In fact, I'm trying to remember the exact numbers. I always remember that the man-at-arms get 100% of the intended attack speed. So they get 25% and then the 50% later when upgraded. I think Spearman's is bigger? Larger, I think? It's really funky. It's really trippy. There's been a few different charts that have kind of shown this, because originally a lot of people got baited by numbers being posted on Reddit because they were simply just wrong, because they were doing maths the wrong way around. And then someone followed up and pointed out that I think crossbows are like 18%, Lombos around 14 to 15%. Spearmen were inconsistent, but we're looking like they might have been getting more than the standardized network of castles attack speed. And then you had the man-at-arms getting the perfect 25%. Numbers are hard, guys. It's kind of concerning that mathematics seems to be failing for the dev team, considering that, well, usually programmers are meant to be good at maths. I can say, as a former programmer, that is pure BS. I was decent at maths as a kid, but I wouldn't say I was a great mathematician at this point in my life. I still got by in coding fine. It's called copy and pasting, guys. Did no one tell you? Most of programming is just copying and pasting. They're trying to copy and paste the archer count on both sides. Wrap around with the knights around the back as well. Big trouble for MarineLorD. Gets caught out. It looked good for him, but the wrap in the back from the remaining knights is going to be good enough to run through these longbowmen now. The archers do need to get rid of the last of the spearmen, but new spearmen coming in. They're not actually prioritizing it. And MarineLorD might be in a little bit of trouble. Needs to actually focus fire down these spearmen. Spearmen that are getting the bonus attack speed, plus doing 28 damage per poke. I say the bonus attack speed. They're actually out of range. So Mista gets caught out of position. Not able to get the trade. It's going to be forced back. More of these spearmen coming in. We'll have the attack speed now. And you see how juiced up they are. 1.53. Compared to the, what is it normally, 1.75. Yes, that's a bit of a funky number. You guys can do the maths. Someone, like, guys, I'm the shouty man. I'm not here to, like, push my glasses up my nose and give you the perfect maths like a Einstein. But all I will tell you is right now, England shoot fast. Lots of pew-pew. And it's becoming a problem. MarineLorD trying to scale somewhat is back on the gold line. Look at the rush. It's a gold rush right now. He needs more knights. He needs them fast. Lombos being greedy. Knights trying to ride out. There are two spearmen here, though. However, with the horsemen now being added into the composition, gap close is good. The immediate strike in is also good. Archers focusing fire onto the spearmen, being traded out by the longbowmen. Longbowman count is falling quickly, though. And now the spearman cannot stick on top of the knights. He switches over to the last of the archers, but that means you could be a little bit exposed on the longbow count. Knights are in deep, will finally retreat away, but it's buying time. All of this is a distraction. Look what MarineLorD is doing this entire time. He's just getting more and more of this gold as quickly as possible. He's got 10 villagers working on it, and he'll instantly back them off as soon as they bank. And that can afford 1 or 2 more knights, followed up by 1 or 2 horsemen. Right now he's capped. On the other side, no scaling. Mista still fully invested. Switching over to farms. Very easy for England to do, remember. Only costs 37 wood each. They don't pay the full price like other civs. And that's why it's important that MarineLorD keeps getting through with these scouts like he is. And look at this, dropping a marketplace as well. So MarineLorD, he's got surplus wood. He understands that the way he's going to win this isn't just archers, though. He needs to have enough cavalry to ride through. He's also going in for the chivalry now. So looking to get that additional bang for buck after he backs off after each engagement. And this outpost drop, MarineLorD, he's going to be slower. And he's going to be deader. The Lombo's moving in. Villagers being sniped. No textiles ever being researched. He'll return now that knights are here. Charge in. Will force the garrison. Big mistake not riding across quicker than this. And so many spears coming out now from Mista. Outpost is rush completed. Secures the gold line. Lombo's trying to reach in. Now they'll be forced back. Didn't want to try and go back on this one over here. It's just too risky to try and get an outpost down there. And the sneaky snake attempt by MarineLorD is still not going to work out perfectly as he would have liked. Right now, actually keeping all the villagers garrisoned. Still has a 5-point lead. Remember, the thing about France is they just produce villagers quicker, so he can afford to lose a few here and there and still be ahead. Now, outpost dropped on the other side. Feels like he's distracting his opponent amply. But look at the move. The numbers are building now. MarineLorD at 30 military. Mista is doubling him up. Yes, they might be cheaper. Yes, he has some means to produce them faster, but they counter out everything that MarineLorD is doing right now. MarineLorD, he dances a very delicate balance right here. He could easily just fall into despair and end up in a game 3 in the blink of an eye, so he has to be very careful about how he tries to force this. The next fight could put him too far behind MiSTer. Now Blacksmith being dropped, needs some tech upgrades. Needs more archers, really. That's another big problem he has. Can't really boom a TC. It's too risky for him right now. He could go for the back stone and actually go for it. I would have been a big fan of this. You just basically smuggle it to the back of your base. You drop a TC here. You get away with it without MiSTer seeing. But it requires too much time. I think MarineLorD feels like he needs every single ounce of his eco into military right now to offset what's coming. It's right now up to 11 Longbow, 13 Spearmen, and more coming in. The only thing that is missing right now, yep, being fixed. MiSTer, he's getting the siege engineering. He's ready to go. He's got enough wood for the first battering ram. He's tired of waiting around, and understandably, he needs to hit this timing. I mean, he's hitting at a decent time, right? With this many outposts in position, with the amount of starvation and preventing of gold being gathered from MarineLorD, you have actually starved him off enough that being at the 14-minute mark, only now ready to build a battering ram, is not a bad thing here. You're actually postured quite well to try and push in and end this game in the next 5 minutes. MarineLorD, is critical that he perfects this hold. Any small misstep could cost him the Nightline. And if he loses the Nightline, I don't see any way that he does this. Because the archer count is never exceeding that of MiSTer, and you don't have the range leverage which the Longbowmen do, right? It's 7 tower range compared to the measly 5. Now, Ram is in. Outpost has been abandoned. Gold gathering is not going on the back either. That's the problem. MarineLorD riding in with the scouts in the meantime, just keeping that food surplus going. And now he dedicates to his second archery range. This is too late, though. You're giving a lot of access to your base right now to MiSTer. Never felt like he had the numbers to support too, though, and that's understandable, even with this many people working wood. This wood, by the way he's picking it dry and what he's doing with it, which is trading, it means that MarineLorD's probably got like 4, maybe 5 more minutes max, courtesy of these smaller pocket expansions left before he dries up his resource banks. He needs to break out before then. If he waits too long, MiSTer is just going to naturally outscale him by the fact that none of his economy is pressured. I mean, look at this as well. He finally went out with a mill, and he's on the double deer drop. And with 1 or 2 spearmen here, you can't even easily sneak in with scouts to snatch these away anymore. And instead, look what he's been resorting to. MarineLorD shifts out into the berry bush far, far away, and he has got some deer to still collect back here, but he has to start taking risks, and these risks are being scouted out by MiSTer, as we can see via the positioning of his scouts. Around. Outpost is down. And now he knows MarineLorD is gold stuff. He's not getting it anywhere right now. Food and wood is all he has to work with. A little bit of trade, sure, but it's not going to get him enough knights quick enough at this rate. New outpost being dropped. Attack speed buff is there, and look at the sniping range. The vision being given by the battering rams means that they can just reach in and stab out as many villages as possible. Now, Longbows looking to trade out with the archers. Archers still being outnumbered right now by the Longbows. Longbows going to be exposed as the knights ride in. And they're bracing from the spears. They do it too early. They're out of position. They get baited out. Archers trying to trade out as many spears as possible, force the Longbows away. Knights trying to ride out once more, but still being jousted away by the spears. And the ram will finally be burnt down by all of the villagers, but so many villagers dying here. MarineLorD now down to 52 eco, but MiSTer still behind him at 48. The problem isn't the count, though. The problem is the amount that they can pick. They are running out of resources, and the outpost network is almost complete as he continues to wrap around here. And MarineLorD, he dropped this mining camp, but he never committed into the stone. So he doesn't even have the option to go for a secondary TC right now. Not that he would be able to afford it. But this is the good news. You're up against England. England's static. We keep saying this. And this is the type of detail it matters for. Look at this. The gold vein on the other side is so far away that MarineLorD is finally able to tap into that vein again. And he's going to get much needed gold to push out more knights. This could be a turning point. It depends on how slow MiSTer is. MiSTer, he needs to ramp up. He needs to get in. He needs to start taking out buildings that matter. There are so many houses, so many mining camps, so much crap in the way that it's not easy for him to just run through and get onto the value buildings, right? The archer ranges, the school of cavalry, even the marketplace. These are all golden targets. You get rid of them, you stunt MarineLorD's ability to field an army. Outpost garrisoned with archers right now, trying to dish out the damage as best they can. Knights can't quite ride in with this battering ram. Not really as exposed as they're looking for, and the Lombos continue to pick him apart. The vision factor that MarineLorD is getting out of this battering ram really is making the difference. And that's the outpost gone. Where's the wood line? All the way over. In risky town right now, but luckily for him, MarineLorD is pushing all the Lombos to the eastern front. So no exposure there. However, in the north, 5 villages, not long for this world anymore. And that is going to put them on even footing on the eco side, as there is nowhere for these poor French peasants to run. I really like the way that MarineLorD is taking his time with this. It's very hard to do this strategy this long without being punished for not ending the game, right? The indecision of a lot of England players tends to cost them at this point. We're almost 20 minutes in. He has no signs of teching up. But the fact that he keeps denying on the gold lines is what's allowed for this. The problem is that right now, he hasn't prevented MarineLorD from gathering on gold for a long time. And it means that the night count is rising to a scary point. MarineLorD may have given too much wiggle room to MarineLorD here, and it may actually lead to his demise in the coming minutes. He needs to strike soon onto a primary target that really matters. Otherwise, the amount of knights that are going to be here is going to make the difference. And at that stage, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Spear count is still good in the meantime. Archer count now up to 30. Oh my. This is turning, guys. 26 longbows on the front. 29 spears. He's over-invested in the spears now, and he could actually be punished. Knights riding in. Look at that initial strike. We'll bait away. And he's trying to peel them off. He's trying to get access to the spears with his archers. These archers get too close, and the longbows punish him. All of a sudden, 6 lost. Barely any casualties. Only 4 longbows, I believe it was, falling there in the end. Just trying to buffer his opponent away, though, and the outpost also achieving that. And it looks like I was wrong. Sorry, he didn't lose many archers there. A lot of them did garrison in the end. And now with that defense in place, it becomes problematic. Remember, we're nowhere near Castle, so we're nowhere near Mangonels. And Mangonels really would break this game one way or the other. Neither of them able to really scale. At any stage, if MarineLorD stops actually pushing units, you're going to notice a flood of knights that's going to overwhelm him. You can see he's giving himself some surplus. He's thinking about it. But I think this could be the danger that loses you the game. The play that I'm a fan of is if you actually get enough wood together to be able to afford a secondary TC, then you scale your economy quick enough to get to a castle age. But if you just do it off of one TC, there's going to be a gap in your economy. It's going to be noticeable. Second outpost going down. Arrow slit upgrades coming into play. Wood line will extend, and no way MarineLorD can try to go after it right now. He doesn't want to show his back to MarineLorD because he knows he'll run him through. This count is getting ridiculous. I don't remember last time at the stage of the game I saw 40 spears like this. It's been a while, at least for England. Charge in. Knights are exposed. Way too deep trying to get rid of the battering ram. They're so close as well, but they can't quite finish it. So one outpost is going to fall. And this ram has got some bang for buck, but needs to be repaired if you want to use it anymore. 27 longbows still, 36 archers. Notice that you are sacrificing the knights, but the number of archers keeps increasing from MarineLorD. And MarineLorD, in the meantime, his keeps sinking slowly but surely. He's always just trying to recover what he just lost. Now, finally, the battering ram will be destroyed. A lot of nuisance achieved, but finally, MarineLorD is going to lose it. Network is still in place, so MarineLorD really only having one direction he can approach and look to extend in. And it makes him quite predictable, but as we said, it makes it very easy to defend, and it makes it very paranoid. MarineLorD not able to push in, right? If he ever goes in, he's worried he's going to get stabbed from behind. It's understandable. And this means that MarineLorD he's exploiting this to the max. This is getting greedy. Look what he's done. He shifts over on his gold line. He's still got plenty of gold left here, but this means he's doubling up his gold production, or generation rather, which means that he's going to be able to field more knights more quickly. And this is something that I don't think MarineLorD's going to anticipate, but look what MarineLorD has done in all this time. He finally saved up. And he didn't make it obvious either. There was enough archers and spearmen still coming out that MarineLorD isn't instinctively going to think his opponent is taking up, but he is. King's Palace is being dropped and is underway. And with 16 people working on this, it will not be long before technology reigns supreme for England. Archers do spot out the villagers, so MarineLorD's greed is going to be punished a little. Luckily for him, longbows don't run fast. We'll lose one villager on the exfil, but these villagers do move a reasonable pace at 1.12. Never did go for the wheelbarrow tech. Surprising, actually, considering MarineLorD has always been running around. I think he would have, but in this situation, the problem he has is he can't really afford the gold, right? Think about how often he was starved out of gold. And there it is. Castle has been cracked, and things just got dangerous. MarineLorD, he needs a Siege Workshop. If you get a Siege Workshop, you break the game straight away. But instead, it looks like he's just going to get the quality. More racks being dropped. Man-at-Arms now coming out. They do need to be upgraded twice, though. And he can get the Vet Longbowman. He should look to do that right now. It's very cheap. 100 food, 250 gold for this many longbows being upgraded. Totally worth it. And MarineLorD, he knows he has to go. He's waited too long. He needs to punish his opponent. Remember the weakness of going on tech ups. Tech ups mean you're exposed. It means that you spent resources that could have been going into your army somewhere else. And MarineLorD understands this better than most players. And he rides in. So many spears, though. Tries to peel it off. Baits the spears to the front. And now the archer's trying to trade out. The micro has to be on point here, though. MarineLorD continued to retreat away. So many spearmen. So many longbowmen remaining, though. And Knights taking heavy casualties. Look at the hit straight away. The stab ends. Too many lost. 3 more fall. You're reaching a point where you can just amass, go straight on top of the archers and feel good, but he's a little bit paranoid. And MarineLorD maybe hemorrhaging more of his infantry than he should here. Archers hold the front. Down to 17 longbowmen. MarineLorD can chase this down. Remember that the longbowmen move slowly away. It's 1.12 tiles, which means your spearmen are also retreating slower as well. And although he does get the upgrade into vet for the spearmen, the problem now is the archers are picking you apart and your longbow army doesn't have many left. And you're going to be chased down. He can't even turn around now. He understands that he has to just keep retreating. He needs reinforcements. He needs it now. The man-at-arms trying to move across are slow, remember. They move static at 1.12 movement speed. And now you're back in your base. MarineLorD finally gets some breathing room, and look what he's doing with it. He's looking to get up to Castle Age as quickly as possible, as soon as possible. Spearman trying to turn around. Bait's not good, though. Only gets one of the Knights out of position. Archers retreating away. Spears trying to chase onto them. You don't have many longbowmen left. This is not a good way to trade, though, MarineLorD. MarineLorD needs to back away. These man-at-arms still only in early status. They're not that tanky. Big mistake made turning around there, but he did not want to expose his economy. And as a result, MarineLorD will renew the assault. Straight in. Needs to target the longbows. Man-at-arms charging out. Knights need to delay this. Instead, focusing on the spearmen. Getting rid of a bunch of them. Down to 24 right now. He's bleeding so many right now. And the archer count is still healthy. MarineLorD at 34. The gold surplus in this man right now. He's able to not only afford a tech up at this rate, but he'll be able to afford to drop a siege workshop and get his initial siege weapons out, which could completely cripple MarineLorD and turn this game again. Because remember, he's playing England. He's playing spears. He's playing man-at-arms. He's playing longbowmen. These all clump up. They're very slow and they're very exploitable to death by mangonels, right? And that is something that MarineLorD will look to play into very soon. Meanwhile, villagers moving out. It's a peasant riot. Forward racks is going to be punished, will not be successful. Now the Knights will arrive back to try and deal with the outposts. These outposts, though, remember, with their upgraded status, have 5 resistance to fire. They take a lifetime to get through. And are you losing? I think he's losing villagers. The Spiral's sniping this out, right? It looks like it. But he brings everyone back. It's taking so long to get through this. And the space it's creating, MarineLorD is able to actually get that breathing room to now make the transitions, right? He's into the mangonels. He drops the Siege Workshop. He's also getting all the upgrades now. He's up to Normie Man-at-Arms. He's got the Veteran Spearman. And he has still not got the Vet Longbowman. Understandably, because he lost so many, probably. But he still needs to go for that upgrade. MarineLorD. Weakness is about to pass. You need to do to MarineLorD what he just done to you. As soon as you see the Castle Age, you need to punish him. The problem is, with so many unarmored units in the Spearman count and the Longbows, how do you dive this TC? How do you punish? Man-at-Arms around the side. Very slow. Very out of position as well. That's going to get punished. Meanwhile, Archer count. Still superior. He needs to be careful of the Mangonel. MarineLorD hasn't used it yet, though. And MarineLorD, he sees this. He's skirting the edge. He's never just in range. Means you can't do anything. Villagers need a way out soon, though. Knights are going to have to count this soon. Equal spears to Man-at-Arms. Knights are going to ride in. They are Vet Royal Knights now, though. They upgraded quickly. They're going to engage. They have to take this fight. They try to back away. They get rooted on the spots. They're going to lose 1 or 2 here. Wrap around incoming. Villagers going to be exposed. Backing away from the Man-at-Arms. They dive into the economy. Gold line is going to be exposed in a second. Guildhall is still running, so long-term you will have an eco benefit, even if you lose some villagers now. The problem is you can't afford to lose this many villagers. Needs to back out. Remember, he never went for the wheelbarrow, those that are not fast. But MarineLorD, he's not on point with the micro. He's not watching this. He will run deeper. He will find some farmland, but maybe you'll only get 5 villagers when you should have been getting 16. You might not even get the 5. And now you're split. This is very punishable. You're out of position with the remaining forces. You need to back away. He tries to brace to engage. Knights are going to be held in place. Archers will arrive, but he's quick to back away. Well played there. The formation shuffle gets him just out of range. The problem is MarineLorD, he can't pursue this. MarineLorD's out of position again. Oh no, MarineLorD. He's coming for the main base. Mangonels, a lot of man-at-arms. The forward racks now being committed to with the villagers moving up. Remember, Mista can afford to do this now. He's got surplus eco. In fact, he's 30 eco units up over MarineLorD. And MarineLorD's stuck here. He can't allow this raid into his economy. He has to deal with these troops before return to base. It means sacrifices are going to be made. And a lot is going to be exposed. Outpost network falling quick. Springel's now coming out, trying to snipe out the Mangonel. Needs 2 more shots, and the man-at-arms already there. Whoopsie-daisy Angel, MarineLorD trying to back away. But remember, you can't garrison these Springles. Nice repairs coming out, though, from the villager. And he's not switching targets, so Mista's not getting rid of it, but it looks like MarineLorD fails to peel it back further. Now, trying to return with the main force. Still has a lot of archers here. These archers are now vetted up, and he's getting to the Arbor of the Trees. He's starting to counter out, but he needs to gain ground. It's not enough to get him out of your base right now. The eco advantage that Mista has means he can replace his army quick. And the damage from the Mangonel! Second shot, not as strong, but the damage is good enough to weaken your main battalion of archers. Big mistake made. Mangonel in retreat from MarineLorD. Dive in from the man-at-arms, wrap around with the knights. Arbor of the Trees in position, but the village is not quick enough. Mangonel's going to fall. And now Mangonel's going to make rocks fall from the sky, straight on top of MarineLorD's lines here. Archers have peeled back far enough that they're not going to be picked off by the MarineLorD, by the Mangonels. But MarineLorD in trouble. He sees the keep getting dropped, and that is enough. That will give it over. MLord, he tries his best. He holds on time and time again. But you always felt this game was going the way of the dodo. And as a result, Mista will force a game free. It is time. We've finally arrived in game 3. That's right. This one has gone the mile between Mista and MarineLorD. It could not be decided quickly. We are going to be heading to a third map. And that third map of choice is going to be Confluence. We're mixing it up. Not only that, though, we're returning to the mirrors as it is going to be China on China. Northern China versus Southern China. Makes a lot of sense with a country near to China. Don't usually get to say that much about the Chinese themselves, though. But that is what's going to be happening. In the north, MarineLorD will be stationed, and Mista will take the south in the red. And this one's going to be spicy. This is a pretty cool map for a mirror matchup of China on China. I think there's a lot of potential here. There's some flex as well. You don't have to dedicate yourself to the same openings at all or the same transitions. So keep in mind there's some matchups where you just kind of do the same thing, right? If you think of Rus gate engagements tend to be one person builds horse archers, the other person builds horse archers. We build horse archers and horse archers and horse archers. And maybe you get a Mangonel or maybe just out micro. France tends to be, we will build knights. We will both build knights. Someone will get maybe a slight edge and have 3 or 4 more knights, and they will scale that until one person possibly makes a mistake, but it always stays the same. China is a really cool and different one. The openings, because of the depth, I think because this civ is so much more developed than a lot of other civs, the openings diverge, right? You might get someone more heavily invested underwater. You might get someone going to feudal and start building into junks heavily. You might get someone else who chooses to boom up into castle in a rush. You might get someone who chooses to go for palace guard off the back of castle. Someone else might wait and go into fire lances later. There's a lot of delicate dances that happen in a China on China matchup. And it usually becomes kind of like a preference choice more than immediate. This is the de facto best way to play China. We'll have to see, because I think MarineLorD is definitely the better Chinese player from what I've seen. I haven't caught too much of Mista recently. It's hard to catch his games. He privates all his profiles. But MarineLorD is definitely one of the top tier Chinese players. I would say, especially when we talk about these water hybrid maps. I think he's one of the scariest players in the game for a water hybrid map. And we're already kind of seeing that. Look at the move out. The scouts are uncontested. Mista has to wait. And then he has to take a challenge against MarineLorD. MarineLorD is very scary, by the way. We've seen him do this to players before on the war hybrids. This is what I was worried about. I didn't expect him to do it just this quick, but he's already there with 3 scouts. And now the micro is going to come into play in a sec. You need to be very careful. MarineLorD, he will shut you out in the blink of an eye. It's not as big a deal as it would be on Boulder Bay, but it is still a significant deal, remember. If you can't control the river crossings, you can't get off your starting island. So this can get very dangerous very fast. MarineLorD annihilated a player just yesterday with this type of opening. But now he's outnumbered. He sees Mista overinvest into the scouts. He's going to drag him away. And this is smartly played by him. So MarineLorD, he will do this regularly. He will invest in a fixed number of scouts, and he will wait until you've invested in more. And then he will peel you off. The whole idea is he's going to always look for an opportunity to snipe one out when you're not paying attention. But ultimately, right now, what MarineLorD is saying, he's going, okay, you spent more on scouts than I did. So you're behind. So I can actually just fall back and drag you away right now. But as it stands, look at this. MarineLorD, he's investing in more scouts. And he's going to send them back over to the dock. And the reason he's doing this is because the heavy damage he inflicted last time. It's down to 500 health. Soon it will set on fire. And your scouts are being pulled across to the other side of the map by MarineLorD. And MarineLorD, if he wants right now, could just split the scouts up. But look at this. He sees that they switch off him. They're heading back. The scout is almost in position, though. 2 scouts coming in. MarineLorD, he's going to get the dock. And this is going to shut Mr. out. It's going to slow him down so much. If he lets it fall, he's going to actually be 5 fishing boats invested with no value being gained from them. And it's 2 scouts. He can't do it. He knows the villager can't do anything about this. And he has actually purchased 6 fishing boats and cannot keep the dock up. The scouts are caught out of position, and MarineLorD is playing Mr. like a fiddle. This guy is single-handedly going to get scouts nerfed. I'm calling it now. Enough damage done, it's going to burn down. No way to protect it. You're split up on your scouts. You need to regroup them. You're even numbers right now. The difference being that now MarineLorD rubs his hands together and laughs as he has an economy on the water that you do not have. But look at this. Mista trying to sneak a new one down. In the meantime, fight going on. Damage being done on both sides. MarineLorD having the edge, splitting the damage evenly. One heavily injured, but they're not focusing fire onto that specific scout. Instead, now that specific scout chases after the heavily injured one, and Mr. in trouble here. Gonna get stabbed out in the main fight. He's losing there as well. MarineLorD is causing pure anarchy here. And that final stab's gonna come out. Turns around again, min-maxes the health on this. He can take another strike on this scout, and he blocks him in. Mister's panicking. 2 more scouts fall. Heavily invested. MarineLorD, he should know where this is going as well. He sees that the fishing boats move south, and that means he turns around. Mista just revealed his hand. And he's going to need even more scouts here. And this is getting dangerous fast. The attempt to put down an outpost is going to be a big fat fail. Mista will refund it. And once again, he's doing it. It's 150 wood sink already. It might end up being another 150 wood. Mista has to engage, but he only has 4 scouts, now up to 5. But the casualties. Look at the damage. 3 of these are heavily injured. Compare that on the other side. MarineLorD, only 1 of them heavily injured. And if you wait, this is going to fall. MarineLorD already teching up, by the way. Mista, he's holding on. He can't afford it because he hasn't got the gold. He never went onto the gold line. He's finally switched onto it now, but it's so delayed, and he's miles behind MarineLorD. Just as I was talking about the elegance of China on China, the options available to you, all the beautiful choices you can make, MarineLorD does the most sinister, evil, and stereotypical French laugh possible and burns Mista's hopes into cinders here as both of the docks are going to fall. Don't let your dreams be memes, folks. MarineLorD proving that scout spamming is well and truly alive and powerful. Not quick enough to stop the tech up, the Barbican Sun being dropped, but look at its location. This is one of the most defensive Barbican Suns I have seen on Confluence. You do not drop it here. The goal is to drop it close to the intersections, right? You don't have full access, admittedly, as Mista, because the tree lines. Neither does MarineLorD, but look at the difference. MarineLorD, look at where he stations his. He's guarded. He covers his fishing economy. It can never easily be assaulted. Meanwhile, this only protects your primary base. All you have protecting your fishing front is a measly outpost. An outpost that might be burnt down if you're not careful. Because here comes MarineLorD again. He burns down the mining camp. He's choo-choo training over. Wants to burn some more things down. Scouts looking to garrison. Ooh, he can't get in quick enough. If he moved across, he might have been able to snipe out some villages here or prevent the Barbican. But damage done, he's happy with that. The delay, the difference. MLorD, he says, ha, you only just reached feudal? Savage people, I've been here a while. The numbers are looking good right now. And there's the move. The junk comes out, and you're so far behind, you can't easily compete. Scouts moving in, firing onto the fishing boats. They need to focus fire onto MarineLorD's primary target from the junk, right? Because the healing rate is too good otherwise. He falls to that GG like that, though. I wondered maybe Mista would hang around, but MarineLorD is the most savage Age of Empires 4 player. He slaps the crap out of his opponents and taps them out pre-10 minute time and time again with this scout spam. I think it's no longer MarineLorD, folks. I think he is now Scout Lord. And not for vision reasons, for cheesem reasons, as Mista's dreams of making it to the grand finals will be denied here, and MarineLorD will, for the 3rd time here in the Winter Series 3, all 3 of them appear in the grand final. Oh, oh, God. I just can't, guys. I just can't. Dirty boy. Dirty, 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 dirty boy is all I can say about MarineLorD. What a brutal savage. Fantastically played by MarineLorD to take the win here. After game 1 and game 2 being so close, so back and forth, so aggressive, so engaged, game 3 tops that. Not in timing, but in aggressive timing. From the first outro, immediately in the game, getting rushed like that, and once again, another player being tripped up. Vortex watching this the whole time will be aware of the possibility of this coming out, because MarineLorD is forcing very uncomfortable situations for his opponents. Notice the details here. Not only does he force TheMista to invest more into scouts, but then he still takes favorable trades due to the fact he's better at microing, min-maxing the damage, right? And then he turns, and even when his opponent originally had more scouts, evens the number up and then leverages that edge to start burning down your docks, right? So then you're uncomfortable. TheMista says, okay, I'm going to have to sacrifice like 3 more villages to build more scouts. At that point in the game, he's so far behind on the economy front, it's impossible to recover. He can't afford to put out junk. By the time he can actually afford the first junk, he's already lost most of the fishing fleet. And at that stage, you're miles behind. By the time you get your initial defenses out, which you're going to need because of what MarineLorD is doing with 1 junk and scouts, he's already going to be up in castle. And that is why TheMista taps out so early. He doesn't wait around. He doesn't waste time. He goes the way of the baguette, because that's exactly what we saw yesterday in the second game with that series featuring MarineLorD at the end of the day. He annihilated his opponent, taking him out at 6 minutes and 32 seconds, I believe. This one went a fraction longer, but not much. And as a result, TheMista, he will finish in fourth place, whichever way around you want to say it. He has got enough points together that he will make it through to the Winter Series Championship, so we look forward to seeing him again then. But his journey here in the Winter Series 3 ends, and he will walk away not with the lion's share of the prize pool. Instead, he will have to settle for a smaller pittance. He'll make $400 here, joining Hera in the same quantity, and we will move on to the grand final shortly after, which will feature MarineLorD and Vortex duking it out in a best of 5. So stay tuned. You definitely don't want to miss that one.